Today's story is Henry and Mudge Under the Yellow Moon, and our author is Cynthia Rylant. Now, if you've been enjoying the books that we've read about Mr. Putter and Tabby, Cynthia Rylant is also the author of those books. And here on our title page, we have Henry, who's our boy, and Mudge, who's our dog. And this actually is a part of a series of books, and what that means is that there are many books written about the same two characters, and this is actually the fourth book of their adventures. Now, you might be wondering why we didn't start with the book number one, and we'll get to that later on this year, but since this book is about the seasons we're in right now, fall, and then we're coming up on the holiday of Halloween, I thought we would jump ahead to this one. So, our book has 3 chapters. We're going to start with chapter 1, Together in the Fall. In the fall, Henry and his big dog Mudge took long walks in the woods. Henry loved looking at the tops of the trees. He liked the leaves, orange, yellow, brown, and red. Mudge loved sniffing at the ground. He liked the leaves too. He always ate a few. In the fall, Henry liked counting the birds flying south. Mudge liked watching for busy chipmunks. Since one was a boy and the other was a dog, they never did things just the same way. Henry picked apples. Mudge licked apples. Henry put on a coat, and Mudge grew one. And when the fall wind blew, Henry's ears turned red, and Mudge's ears turned inside out. But one thing about them was the same. In the fall, Henry and Mudge liked being together most of all. Now, we're going to read the second chapter also that is called Under the Yellow Moon. And I think you can figure out our first chapter had to deal with fall. And our second chapter, I think you can figure out what it has to deal with just looking at some of the clues in the illustrations. Henry loved Halloween. He loved to make jack-o'-lanterns. He loved to make paper bats. And most of all, he loved to dress up. But there was one thing about Halloween Henry did not like: ghost stories. And Henry's mother loved to tell ghost stories. Every Halloween, she put on her witch's hat, lit candles, and told ghost stories. She thought that Henry liked them because he told her he liked them, but he really hated them. They scared him. He was afraid to tell her that. But this year, Henry had Mudge. Mudge would be with him. Henry would not be afraid of the ghost stories. So Halloween night, Henry's mother put on her hat and lit her candles. She invited Henry and Mudge and some of Henry's friends to listen to ghost stories. It was dark outside. A big yellow moon was in the sky. It was dark inside, except for the candles and one jack-o'-lantern. Henry got close to Mudge on the floor. Henry's mother began. First, she told a story about a man who had lost his head. Henry shook. His friends shook. Then she told a story about a cat in a graveyard. The candles made shapes on the walls. Henry shook harder. Then Henry's mother began telling a story about a pair of shoes that went looking for someone's feet. The shoes, she said, came out only at night, and they walked up and down the streets looking. You could hear them, she said softly. They went click, 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 click. Henry's mother tapped her own shoes on the floor. Click, 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 she whispered. But when she stopped tapping, Henry still heard something. Something in the room. Something in the room under the yellow moon. Henry held his breath. Something went click, 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 but faster. Henry's whole body shook. It was like somebody walking faster and faster. Click, 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 click. What was it? Henry's mother bent down. Mudge? She said. Henry knew his mother was scared too if she needed Mudge. Mudge? She said again. The clicks got louder. The shoes are coming, thought Henry. He put his head on Mudge's neck. Now the clicking was louder than ever. Mudge, said Henry's mother, stop chattering. Chattering? Henry put his ear near Mudge's mouth, and Mudge's teeth went click, 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 click. It wasn't a pair of shoes, it was Mudge, and he was more scared of the yellow moon in the dark room and the witch's stories than anybody else. Poor Mudge, Henry thought. Henry stopped shaking and put his arms around Mudge's big head and held Mudge tight. And then they listened to the next story about a chair that rocked all by itself. But Mudge clicked all the way to the end.